What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. We just got back from Disney 1 week ago. We're currently at the beach right now, so perfect way to unwind from Disney. Honestly, this is amazing and I highly recommend doing a beach trip after you're done at Disney. This has been such an amazing week. So today's our last full day here, and I thought it would be fun to sit down and do a little bit of a recap from our Disney trip, answer some questions, and I did do a Q&A over on Instagram and had you guys send in a bunch of questions that you've had about our trip, so I am really excited to answer some of those questions, and let's go ahead and dive in. All right, so to prevent this video from being over 2 hours long, because honestly, I could talk about this trip all day, I am going to pick and choose some questions that I feel like are the most relevant to our trip. And if your question doesn't get answered and you had more of a general Disney planning question, head over and check out some of my other videos because I have so much Disney planning content on my channel. So all kinds of money saving tips and how to plan a Disney trip, tips for traveling with a toddler to Disney. So head over and check those out if your question doesn't get answered. But let's go ahead and dive into the first question about our trip. Let's start with the most asked question, and it was about our road trip. So I got all kinds of questions. How was the drive? Would you do it again? Road trip details. What time did you leave? How long did it take? Would you do it again? I mean, just over and over. Everybody wants to know about the drive. So basically, the drive went incredible. So we left, and it honestly surprised me. I did not expect it to go this well. So we've never done a road trip with Ellie Rose before. I mean, we did a 6-hour trip with her when she was 5 months old, but it's hard to count that because she pretty much screamed the entire drive. So we were a little scarred from that. But 2.5 years old is a whole new world. So I was very hopeful. So we left around 7:30. My goal was 7 a.m. So 7:30 was pretty good. And we had everything packed up the night before, waiting at the door, ready to go. And my husband helped us get the car loaded and packed up and organized. So we had everything. If you watched our travel day vlog, you saw kind of how we laid out the back seat. And that really worked well for us. We switched Ellie's car seat to be front facing, and I think that really helped her a lot because she could see out, she could see us, she had more room to kind of spread out, and she didn't feel as confined in the back seat, I think. So that really helped her. And then we had her little travel basket of all of her activities right next to her, and my mom did have to reach back pretty much the whole trip too, because I drove, and she had to reach back pretty much the whole trip to help Ellie get things out of that little basket, get her set up with the next activity and things like that. So she wasn't necessarily at an age where she could kind of sort through and pick and choose what she wanted to do. So my mom really helped her, and we had our lunch and our snacks and drinks all within arm's length. So that was really helpful. We didn't have to stop for lunch. All of our stops were either for gas or to let Ellie get out of the car and run around. My goal was to hold off on the tablet with Ellie for as long as possible, and we actually did pretty good on the ride down. So all of her coloring books and Play-Doh and I mean all the dozen activities that I had ready for her, those lasted quite a while. I mean, surprisingly, I just did not know what to expect, but it went really, really well, and those entertained her for a really long time. I waited to pull out my little Dollar Tree activities until the ride back because I knew the ride home would be harder than the ride there because, the excitement's died down and she's done being in the car after the drive down there. And so I made sure to save some of our best things for the ride back. That was, I think a really helpful thing that I was able to do for her. But other than that, I mean, we stopped pretty much every 2.5 to 3.5 hours, and that seemed to really help her and prevent her from getting antsy, you know what I mean? So there was no fussy or crying anything in the car. She did really well, I think, because we were able to stop every 2.5 to 3.5 hours. So that worked out great, and the trip on our GPS said it was going to take us 10.5 hours, but we ended up getting there after 11.5 hours. So we only had an hour of delays, including all of the rest stops that we took, and we made sure to keep our stops pretty brief, so we were never out of the car longer than 10 minutes really. So We made sure in those 10 minutes, Ellie was literally running circles around a bench or around a tree or whatever. I mean, literally sprinting. So we made sure to really maximize those rest stops to where she wasn't just getting out of the car for a diaper change and then back in the car. We were making sure that she was really getting some energy out. And anything else? Nap time. Nap time never really happened. We got her to kind of doze off for about 30 minutes, and we did use the little neck pillow. I'll insert a picture right here. She's so adorable. It was tricky though. So even though the little neck pillow was really helpful for her, she, I think, was kind of freaked out by it. And so we had to wait until she was almost asleep to put it on her, because she's one of those toddlers where she will fall asleep and her chin is all the way down at her chest. So it looks so uncomfortable and you just feel so bad as a parent watching your child sleep like this. So the pillow really, really helped. We couldn't get her to use it on the ride back, you know, so it is what it is. But if you can get your little one to be comfortable or okay with that, then I think it worked out really well. The other item that I wanted to talk about was our little princess car seat tray that I was so excited about. And again, this worked out really well. I mean, it just clipped right over the car seat and Ellie was able to have all of her coloring books and activities spread out. All of her crayons never, you know, rolled off her lap. Everything stayed right where she could reach it. So it was super helpful. It did get colored on. So I actually show kind of the end result in an unpacking vlog that I'm gonna have come up very soon. So be on the lookout for that, because I'll show the before and after. Well, really just the after if you watched our packing vlog. But it was super helpful to have. So I'm trying to think of any other road trip details that would be helpful to share. We didn't really have any other hiccups or anything like that. I mean, we had that hour of traffic that we hit when we got close to Disney. Kind of that last hour was the slowest part of our journey. But other than that, I mean, the road trip went amazing. It went so smooth and honestly way better than I could have ever imagined. I'm so thankful that it went so well. But to answer the last question, will we do it again? Will we drive in the future? Will we fly? After this trip, you guys are gonna be shocked. I honestly can see us driving to Disney from now on, because flights are just so expensive, and especially now that Ellie Rose needs her own ticket. If it's me and Andy traveling with her, we're buying 3 plane tickets now. So that adds a huge chunk to our cost. In addition to, you know, she's almost 3, we're gonna have to start buying her tickets and, you know, more food, and, you know, she'll be priced as a child at a character meal, and you know, so a lot of additional costs are coming up on our Disney trip when she turns 3. So if driving is a way that we can save money, I think that's going to make our trips way more doable. And the drive, I mean, granted, it's it took us 11 and a half hours. It's about a 10 and a half hour, you know, trip, but with stops, you know, I mean, it could take up to 12 hours. So it's a full day drive. But if we are saving over $1,000, I think it's worth it. And we're only spending, I think we ended up spending just over $300 on gas there and back. So it really is doable. And especially with me and my mom, we were able to split pretty much everything. And so I paid $150 for gas and she paid, you know, or I paid for the way down, she paid for the way back. So it worked out amazing. And I could see us driving. I don't know. It's hard to imagine us flying after this trip because it went so well. So that's all I'll share about the road trip, because, you know, there's so much that I could keep going on and on about, but overall it went amazing, and we will probably continue to drive in the future. I don't know. I mean, there's no telling. I don't want to say we'll never fly again, but I could see us driving more in the future for sure. And the second most asked question was all about the heat and the crowds and going in July. So this question was, how were the crowds and the wait times? Did you use Genie Plus? Did your clothes stay cool? What kind of shoes? This next one, just heat and crowd level details. So let's start with the heat. I'll link my how to handle the heat in Disney World video that I just did recently, because that has so many great tips and kind of everything that I would share here. I'll just go ahead and link that video if you want to hear a little bit more on, you know, how to handle the heat at Disney World in the month of July and August when it's really, really hot. But when we were there, what was it, 3rd week of July? Y'all, it was hot. It was very, very hot. There is no downplaying it. It was hot, it was humid. But our goal was to be indoors as much as possible. So that's pretty much what we were able to do. We chose all indoor attractions, and then we made sure that we were eating indoors in air conditioning. We made a lot of stops in the baby care center, in gift shops. I mean, just anywhere we could get out of the heat, that's where we were. If there was a cut through a gift shop, we cut through there just to avoid being in the heat. But I think a big part is being mentally prepared for the heat. And when you go into your trip knowing, okay, it is gonna be so freaking hot at Disney World, and you come prepared with the right clothes, the right shoes, you have misting fans and regular fans and stroller fans and cooling towels, and you come with all the things, then you'll be okay. So I think because we were prepared for the heat, it made it so much better. And I planned our day kind of around the heat in a sense. So we made sure that we were back in the room by 1 o'clock at the latest. And that worked out really, really well for us. And we made sure to stay overly hydrated to the point where it got annoying how many times we had to stop and use the restroom. But that's when you know you're staying hydrated. So I made sure that we were chugging liquid IV. I brought those body armor drinks with us. I had bottles of water with us. I mean, we were just constantly drinking, and I, for some reason, get so overheated so easily, and I know that about myself, that I get overheated and dehydrated easier than other people for some reason. I don't know why, but I made sure that I was chugging like 16 ounces of fluids, like, I don't know, every half hour it seemed like I was drinking something, and that helped me enjoy the day so much more because I didn't feel dehydrated, and I felt energized, I felt good, and yes, it was hot, but I think because I was diligent with staying hydrated, I felt really good. So that's what I would say to the heat. I mean, it's July, it was really bad, but you just kind of go into your trip knowing that it's going to be bad. Okay, the next part to that question was, how were the crowds? And I would say the crowds were average for summer. So I mean, it was crazy busy, and unless you're going to Disney on New Year's Eve, Christmas, Thanksgiving, that's going to be just completely insane. And then I would say pretty much the entire rest of the year, with the exception of a few weeks here and there, it's just always busy. So it just felt normally crowded for what it is at Disney World. I mean, the rides, were anywhere from 30 to 60-minute waits for things like Winnie the Pooh, and It's a Small World. So I mean, you had long lines, but again, you go in kind of knowing that and expecting that, and it's gonna be busy, and just make dining reservations, and you just kind of know that it's gonna be busy. So with that, with the crowds and it being busy and all of that, we did utilize Genie Plus on our Magic Kingdom day, and we actually only used it for 3 different, I don't know why, three different attractions. We ended up doing the early theme park entry. We got there at 8:30, and we looped back to Fantasyland. We got there around 8:40, so it was already very full by 8:40. And we did Little Mermaid, which was a walk-on. I mean, 5-minute wait, but 5 minutes to just walk onto the ride. And then after that, we got off, and Winnie the Pooh wasn't up and running yet, so I went ahead and just got Genie Plus and made a lightning lane for 9:30. So we still had a little bit of time after we got off Little Mermaid at 9 o'clock. So that's when we went over and rode Dumbo, and that was about a 5-minute wait as well. So that was all before the park officially opened at 9 a.m. So the crowds weren't crazy back there yet, so everything was still pretty much a walk-on, except for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Oh my word, that line was already insane. But all of the other little rides, I mean, are pretty much a walk-on if you get early theme park entry. So we were able to do Little Mermaid and Dumbo, and then we came off Dumbo, and then by 9:30 we were able to scan into Winnie the Pooh. That was already up to a 30-minute wait by 9 a.m. So early theme park entry really pays off if there's a couple of rides back in Fantasyland that you want to do that aren't worth Genie Plus or aren't worth a 30-minute wait. And especially with a toddler, it's just 30 minutes in any kind of line is not realistic for us. So I'm glad we were able to do those 2 walk-ons, and then we used our first lightning lane over at Winnie the Pooh. And by 9:30 a.m. after I'd scanned in, the very first availability to meet Minnie and Mickey wasn't until, I believe it was 3:30 p.m. So that's when I had to start stacking lightning lanes. So after 9:30, then I could make my next one at 11:30. So after we did Winnie the Pooh, we had Minnie and Mickey lined up at 3:30. And then after that, we went over to the baby care center and then played in the hubgrass. I mean, that was the rest of our morning, and Ellie loved it. So we did 3 rides, then we hung out in the hubgrass for, I mean, it was close to an hour maybe, I don't know, and Ellie was so happy and content. We got snacks and drinks and just sat in the shade, let her run around, and that was probably her best part of the entire morning, apart from the rides, and she loved the rides. I mean, did amazing. I'll talk more about her experience in the parks more specifically with another question here in a minute, but she did amazing. So after that, then it was time for lunch at the plaza, and we walked right over and got to sit in the air conditioning, and that's when it started getting really hot. By 11 a.m. it was hot. So, you know, I'm glad we got some outside time in the hubgrass before it really got to the hottest part of the day. But that was pretty much our morning and kind of how we played it out with Genie Plus and rides and early theme park entry. And our goal wasn't to do as much as possible and squeeze in every little thing, you know, because we totally had time to do more, but I just didn't feel like it was necessary to do more. We did those 3 attractions and Ellie was doing great. And I just didn't want to get into another line and wait 15 to 30 minutes for another ride back in Fantasyland. So how we did the morning worked out great for us. And then by 11:30, while we were eating lunch, then I was able to make my second lightning lane, and I did the Cinderella meet and greet. So that one, the next availability wasn't until 4 p.m. So we had Mickey and Minnie at 3:30 and then Cinderella at 4. So we had both of those back to back, and I was totally fine with that actually, because I knew we were going to be leaving after lunch to go back for nap time. So the timing of those character meet and greets worked out perfect. So that's all I used Genie Plus for that day, was Winnie the Pooh and then Mickey and Cinderella. So I think those 3 things ended up making it worth it, because later on, come to find out, Mickey and Minnie was it was an 80-minute wait for Mickey and Minnie, and then a 60-minute wait for Cinderella. So, you know, we paid $15 each to skip an hour of a line for Cinderella and over an hour wait for Mickey and Minnie. And then come to find out, Ellie wasn't even super into the characters anyway, and so it made me even more thankful that we didn't wait over an hour to meet a character that she wasn't super excited about. It just made me so thankful that we had Genie Plus and that we didn't have to wait in that long line with her not even really being interested in the characters in the end anyway. So it all worked out, but that's all I ended up using Genie Plus for. I could have continued to stack lightning lanes, but I knew that there wasn't really anything else that we wanted to do with Ellie, and the timing of it wasn't gonna work out with dinner, and we had the fireworks dessert party that night, so I just didn't feel like it was necessary for us to make another lightning lane. But we probably could have done so much more, but that's just kind of what we decided was gonna be best for us that day. So I think if you are doing Genie Plus for Magic Kingdom, I mean, you could really maximize it. There was a lot of availability for rides like Pirates of the Caribbean and Haunted Mansion. I mean, all kinds of stuff. So you could really make the most of it. Okay, I think we're past the longest questions. So now I'm gonna see if I can start flying through the rest of these, because I can feel this is already getting very long. So this next question, did you rent DVC for both of your resorts? Yes, I did do DVC rentals for our stay at the Grand Floridian and Old Key West. So we did a dedicated reservation for both. So it just happened to be where I was able to find 2 nights at the Grand Floridian and then the following 2 nights at Old Key West. So they were 2 separate dedicated DVC rentals, and they just happened to match up with those dates. So it worked out really, really well. More about the drive. How was this trip with Ellie compared to the last? Y'all, this trip was incredible. night and day difference. I don't even know how to explain it. If you watched our December trip vlogs, you know what a total disaster that trip was. We took Ellie when she was 22 months and she pretty much just cried all day long, every day we were there, and was upset all day long, constantly. So we never really knew how to help her, how to enjoy our time. I don't know if she was just teething all week or I don't know what was going on, but it was a horrible week. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. It was horrible. So this go around, I knew that she was in a much better spot because I couldn't even remember the last time that she's had a full-on meltdown. And so I was like, you know what? I really feel like this is gonna be a great trip with her. And the car ride went incredible. Our Magic Kingdom day went perfect. I mean, she was happy all day long and was cooperative and just so easy to be around and so excited at everything and so happy and just, I don't know, she loved the rides. She just was so excited to get on Little Mermaid. I mean, she just lit up on these rides and just loved it. Those were the moments that I had been really, really wanting with her that we didn't get on our last trip with her. So if you're a mama and your little one maybe didn't do as well on your Disney trip that maybe you had hoped, give it another try, you know, wait 6 months to a year, and you're probably gonna have a very different experience because they're at a very different stage. So I think that was the biggest difference with Ellie Rose. You know, I mean, she is full on toddler now, and you know, we're past the 2-year mark and she's able to communicate with me more, and it just went so much better. So it was the dream trip with her. Okay, this next one, would love more details about fireworks spots with littles. So our first night when we checked in at the Grand Floridian, we were able to view the fireworks from the water kind of boat dock area. We weren't out on the dock where the boats, you know, the transportation boats are, more of the marina boats. There's a really amazing viewing location right outside of Gasparilla's, and they play the music into that marina area. So I had never seen that area before. I didn't even know it was there, and so that was so perfect for Ellie. We were able to hear the music, and the fireworks was, you know, it's the perfect view. You could see the castle all lit up in the background. So if you are not doing a park and maybe you just want to explore the Grand Floridian, that would be the perfect spot. Go grab dinner at Gasparilla's and then come out, and there's tables and lots of room to spread out, and that's an awesome spot to view the Magic Kingdom fireworks. Our next night at Magic Kingdom, we did the fireworks dessert party. I'm gonna do a full review on this because, I mean, spoiler, it was phenomenal, and we'll never not do it with Ellie as long as she's little because she was able to have all the space to run around in the hubgrass area, view the fireworks. You know, I mean, again, I'll talk about this way more in another video, but it was seriously amazing. So highly recommend if you're able to splurge on that with your little ones. It gives them so much more breathing room. You don't have to stake out a spot in the crowds, and you're not shoulder to shoulder with people trying to squeeze your stroller, you know, through the crowds. It just gave you so much more room. So that's my recommendation. Again, if you're able to splurge on something for your Disney trip, the fireworks dessert party is it. And then for our Epcot night, we ended up watching the fireworks further back towards the entrance. So there's a bridge that connects the, I can't remember the new World Discovery, is that what it's called? Where Test Track and all of that is. There's a walkway that connects that over to the beginning where the bridge is at the World Showcase. I probably did a horrible job of explaining that, but we hung out actually on that area because there was no one there. And right behind us, there was this big open grassy area that Ellie just ran up and down for like 20 minutes. The only negative I would say about this spot is that they don't have the music playing towards the front of the park. So it's just that Epcot, you know, park loop music playing, and then you can hear Harmonious off in the distance. So you had two soundtracks competing with each other. So that was kind of difficult, but you have a great view of the fireworks and there's no one around. So that was amazing, and honestly way more valuable to me because I just wanted a spot where Ellie had so much room to run and play and out of the stroller, and you know, we needed to be in a location that could accommodate her. And so that's what that was. And you'll see all the footage of that in my Epcot vlog coming soon. But that's what I would say for fireworks spots that we did on this trip for little ones. And that ties into this next question. How do you handle Ellie wanting to run everywhere by herself? So I really just try my best to make sure that she's in a location that can accommodate her running. So the hub grass, you know, that area that I was mentioning that we watched the Epcot fireworks in. So finding spots like that where she does have the freedom to run and I'm not feeling anxious, like, wait, come back, you know, feeling like I'm gonna lose her. And then when we get into a spot where, you know, no, she needs to be with me, she cannot run off, she gets strapped in her stroller. So I just make sure that whenever we go into a crowded area, if we're in a gift shop or a restaurant or somewhere that I don't want her running off, she's just in her stroller. And sometimes she doesn't like it and she wants to be out, but I know that that's going to be the best thing for us and it's going to keep her safe and with me. And then as soon as we're in a spot where it's wide open, you know, maybe there's a gate or a fence somewhere that, you know, can kind of like corral her, then I'll let her out of the stroller and I'm fine with her walking. So I just kind of assess where we're at and decide whether this is a spot that she needs to be in the stroller or if I can let her out and she can have a little bit of running room. This next one is, I noticed you do split stays a lot. Do you prefer them or do you do it out of necessity because of DVC availability? That's a great question. So kind of both, I guess, because we plan our trips so last minute, especially lately, at least this past year, it's really been an availability thing. I would love to put in a request, and if we could have just stayed at Grand Floridian all 4 nights, that would have been great, or even all 4 nights at Old Key West, that would have been great too. But because of DVC availability, and this was a last minute trip and we booked dedicated reservations instead of submitting my own request, and I'll link my DVC playlist if you're like, what the heck is she talking about? And you can learn a little bit more about DVC rentals and all of that. But that's why we did it on this trip, was so we could experience the Grand Floridian. And then I knew I already love Old Key West. And so that was a way for us to do that and have a 1-bedroom at Old Key West. And I was able to kind of show my mom one of my favorite resorts that's really special to me. But then we could still do the Grand Floridian. But at the same time, I do love split stays. So I really enjoy getting to experience multiple resorts on a trip because it makes your vacation feel like almost 2 vacations in one. And if you have a goal like me to stay at all the Disney resorts, it's a way to kind of check those off a little bit quicker when you go on your Disney trips. But again, I would say both. I mean, it's a little bit out of necessity because we book our trips last minute and, you know, we do have to piece together maybe a couple stays if we know we want to be there for 4 nights or 5 nights or whatever the trip is. But then I also love it at the same time. So it's kind of a win-win, but both, I guess, is my answer. Okay, next is, I saw that Ellie did great with the rides this time. Did you do anything to help prepare her? Not intentionally, I guess. The only thing I would say is that I introduced her to more Disney characters. So before she turned 2 years old, the only characters that she was really aware of was Minnie and Mickey. And she just wasn't interested, you know, in movies like Cinderella or Little Mermaid and, you know, Winnie the Pooh. That was just, she was just Minnie and Mickey, everything Minnie and Mickey. But then after she turned 2 and especially got closer to 2 and a half, she started to be more interested in those movies when I would show her different characters. So I think that really helped her. So when we went on The Little Mermaid, it wasn't just this, what is this? Where am I right now? What is all this supposed to be? So we were able to go through the ride and she knew Ariel. So we went through and, you know, I see her light up and she points, it's Ariel, and Ariel, she calls her Ariel Mermaid. And so I think that really helped. And then same thing with Winnie the Pooh. She's been watching a few of the movies. So the whole ride, she's pointing out all the characters. I think that really helped her. So I didn't necessarily prepare her for rides specifically, but she knew the characters. So that really seemed to be the thing that helped her with those rides and do so well, I think, is just knowing the characters. This next one is, how long before did Ellie know about the trip? Did you do a countdown or tell her in a fun way? So she's still at an age right now where I think the idea of Disney World is still very new. Like, she's aware of what Disney World is, but when I first originally told her, right when we booked the trip, baby, we're gonna go to Disney World, she was just excited because I was excited. You know what I mean? So I think when she gets a little bit older, it'll be fun to do a little countdown with her or tell her in a really fun, exciting way when she fully understands. But it was still really sweet watching her be excited about it, but I think it came from my excitement. You know what I mean? So when I would tell her, like, are you so excited we're going to Disney World? She would do the exact same thing. She'd go at Disney World. So she would just copy me. But I am excited for when she's a little bit older. I think it'll be really sweet. Okay, next, all of the Guardians ride details. Did you get nauseous? You guys, this ride is like unlike anything I've ever experienced. I said this about Flight of Passage when that was brand new, but I hadn't ridden Guardians of the Galaxy yet, so I didn't know that Flight of Passage doesn't even compare to Cosmic Rewind. But you guys, this ride was incredible. My jaw was just dropped the entire time. And lately, as I've been getting older, I've noticed that I do get a little more nauseous on rides. Like, my stomach drops, I come off feeling like just like a little woozy, like it's just not my thing. Like Tower of Terror, I used to love, but the last time we did Tower of Terror, I was like, that might be the last time I'm doing that for a while, just because it didn't make me feel that great. Same thing with Rock and Roller Coaster. So I was nervous in the back of my mind thinking, am I gonna feel that way on this? But because the ride is so smooth, there's no jerkiness, there's no like crazy drop or anything like that. I mean, there's drops, it's a roller coaster, but nothing that made me sick, nothing that made me feel nauseous. And because the vehicles, I don't want to give too much away, but because the vehicles slightly turn into the curves, like you never go upside down, so I think that helped too. But because the vehicles turn, it helped with the ride feeling really smooth. So someone who does get a little like lightheaded and a little nauseous coming off of things like Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster, I didn't feel any of that in Cosmic Rewind. So if you're like me and that's been the thing kind of holding you back from wanting to try it, you're a little nervous, give it a try because it's a little bit different and it's just so smooth. It's unlike any other roller coaster I've ever done, but it's also a virtual experience. I don't know. I'm just dying to do it again, honestly. It was phenomenal. Okay, this next one, was it difficult going without Andy? I mean, of course, it's always so sad being there at Disney without your person, but I think having my mom there with me really, really helped. I mean, my mom and I have so much fun together. We laugh constantly, and of course, it's so sweet seeing her relationship with Ellie Rose and kind of their bond and connection, so that's really, really sweet. And my mom was able to stay back with Ellie during one nap time, and I was able to go to the pool and get a margarita, so that was a bonus. So ladies, bring your moms with you to Disney World if you have little ones. But I mean, it was really sweet being there with my mom, but of course I missed Andy. I mean, there were so many moments that I would text him and be like, oh my gosh, or, you know, some kind of inside joke, or I'd text him a picture of something, and, you know, so I did really miss him. You know, it's always hard being there without him because Disney does feel like our thing. And I know it was hard for him not being able to go this time because he felt like he missed out on this really sweet trip with Ellie Rose. And I tried not to talk about it too much, like tried not to explain how amazing it was too much to him because I didn't want him to feel horrible about missing it. But yeah, it was hard being there without him, but having my mom there really helped. All right, well, I'm gonna end it there. I know there were a bunch of questions that I didn't get to, but my camera battery is telling me otherwise. So I'm gonna end it here before my camera shuts off. So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss these trip vlogs. I still have so much I wanna share about this trip. So thank you guys so much for following along. You guys are seriously amazing, and you guys make this so much fun for me. So I love getting to share part of our life with you guys and our Disney trips and answer questions and hopefully share a little bit of our Disney knowledge with you guys. And, you know, I hope it helps you when you're planning your Disney trip. So thank you guys again. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.